What if I told you that some of the most impressive aircraft in modern aviation are not jets at all? They are turboprops, and not the old stereotype people still picture when they hear that word. Not slow, not outdated, not second tier. Because the truth is, the best modern turboprops are doing things that would have sounded almost unbelievable a generation ago. Some can cruise above 300 knots. Some can haul massive payloads into places where many jets would never even consider landing. Some can cross serious distances nonstop. And some are so capable across so many different missions that they stop feeling like niche aircraft and start feeling like some of the smartest machines in the entire aviation world. So today we are counting down 10 modern turboprops that outperform expectations. This is not just a ranking of speed, it is a ranking of aircraft that go beyond what people assume a turboprop can do. Some win with runway performance, some win with payload, some win with versatility, and a few win by being so fast that they force people to completely rethink what a propeller-driven airplane can be. Let's begin. Number 10, de Havilland, Canada, Twin Otter Series 400. At number 10, we begin with an airplane that most people underestimate the moment they look at it. The de Havilland, Canada. Twin Otter Series 400 does not arrive with the sleek, aggressive profile of a high-end personal turboprop. It looks honest, functional, almost humble, and that is exactly why it belongs here. Because once you look past the shape, you realize this aircraft has been built around something far more valuable than image: mission capability. De Havilland describes the Twin Otter Series 400 as the latest generation of its iconic utility aircraft, with flexible interiors that can support VIP transport, cargo, medevac, special missions, or a standard 19-seat passenger layout. The company also lists a maximum cruise speed of 182 knots at 10,000 feet, a maximum range of 763 nautical miles with standard tanks, a 1,490-foot takeoff field length to 50 feet, and a 556-foot landing ground roll on wheels. It is also powered by twin Pratt & Whitney PT-6A34 engines and carries a useful load of 4,655 pounds. Now, those numbers may not sound outrageous when compared with the high-speed singles later in this countdown, but that would miss the point. The Twin Otter outperforms expectations because it is one of the most useful aircraft ever built. It can go where smoother, faster, more glamorous aircraft simply cannot. It can deal with rough strips, remote communities, harsh climates, amphibious operations, and mission profiles that would push many other airplanes out of their comfort zone immediately. And yet it still gives operators respectable cruise speed, real carrying capacity, and one of the most flexible cabins in the class. That is why this aircraft matters so much. Because aviation is not only about how fast you move once you're at altitude, it is also about where you can go, what you can carry, and whether the airplane is still useful once the runway gets short, rough, narrow, or remote. The Twin Otter has been proving that point for decades, and the Series 400 keeps that legacy alive in a much more modern form. Honeywell avionics, flexible mission configuration, serious STOL capability, and twin-engine dependability all come together in one package. It may not be the fastest turboprop on the list, but it is absolutely one of the clearest examples of an aircraft outperforming the expectations people bring to it. And that is why it opens the countdown. Number 9, Daher Kodiak 100. At number 9, we move from a legendary twin utility aircraft to one of the most respected modern single-engine utility turboprops on the market, the Daher Kodiak 100. This is another airplane that people often underestimate because of what it looks like. The Kodiak does not present itself like a polished corporate machine first. It presents itself like a working airplane, a rugged airplane, a do-anything airplane. And once again, that visual impression causes some people to miss how impressive the actual performance package really is. Daher lists the Kodiak 100 with a max speed of 183 ktas, an extended range of 1,132 nautical miles, a takeoff distance of 934 feet, a landing distance of 765 feet, a climb rate of 1,340 feet per minute, and a useful load of 3,530 pounds. The aircraft seats 1 to 10, includes a large cargo door, and is designed to adapt easily to float operations without structural upgrades. Fuel capacity is listed at 320 gallons. That is an extraordinary set of numbers for an airplane with this kind of mission profile. Because once you combine that kind of useful load with sub-1,000-foot takeoff performance and over 1,000 nautical miles of range, the Kodiak stops looking like a niche backcountry machine and starts looking like one of the most practical aircraft in all of general aviation. It can move people. It can move freight. It can support humanitarian operations. It can reach places with minimal infrastructure. And it can do all of that without asking the owner to give up the economic simplicity and field access that make turboprops so attractive in the first place. What makes the Kodiak 100 outperform expectations is that it wins in the category most people overlook: usefulness under pressure. A lot of aircraft look great on a brochure. Far fewer can still make sense when the runway gets short, the pavement disappears, the payload gets heavy, and the mission stops being comfortable. The Kodiak was built for exactly that world, and that is why it belongs here. Not because it is trying to imitate a jet, but because it is doing something jets often cannot. Number 8, Beechcraft King Air 260. At number 8, we step into one of the most recognizable turboprop lineages in aviation history, the Beechcraft King Air, and more specifically, the King Air 260. This is one of those aircraft that suffers from its own reputation. It has been around such a respected family for so long that people almost stop noticing how strong the numbers really are. The King Air is so established that it can start to feel normal. But the moment you actually read the specifications, you remember very quickly that there is nothing ordinary about this airplane. Textron lists the King Air 260 with a maximum cruise speed of 310 knots, true airspeed, a maximum range of 1,720 nautical miles, a takeoff distance of 2,111 feet, a maximum operating altitude of 35,000 feet, a maximum climb rate of 2,437 feet per minute, and room for 9 occupants. Useful load is listed at 3,760 pounds. That is an extremely serious performance package. 310 knots puts the King Air 260 firmly into the zone where turboprops stop feeling merely efficient and start feeling genuinely fast. That kind of speed, paired with the ability to use shorter runways than many jets, is exactly why the King Air continues to dominate in government, medical, business, and special mission roles. This airplane is not living on legacy. It is still delivering. And the way it delivers is very important. The King Air 260 is one of the clearest examples of a turboprop doing many jobs at once without feeling compromised. It can be a business aircraft. It can be a medevac aircraft. It can be an air ambulance platform. It can be a surveillance aircraft. It can serve remote operations. It can serve executive travel. It can support special missions. It can handle weather and field conditions that would push some lighter, faster aircraft into much narrower operating envelopes. That is why it outperforms expectations. A lot of people assume turboprops at this level are stepping stones to jets. But the King Air 260 has spent years proving the opposite. For many operators, this is not a compromise aircraft. It is the correct aircraft. And when an airplane can do over 300 knots, carry real payload, climb hard, and still preserve the flexibility of the turboprop mission set, it deserves a place high on a list like this. Number 7. ATR 72-600. At number 7, we scale things up in a completely different direction. The ATR 72-600 is not here because it is the fastest airplane in this countdown. It is here because it may be one of the best examples of a turboprop outperforming expectations at scale. A lot of people still hear the phrase regional turboprop and immediately assume compromise. They imagine slower service, smaller reach, and a lower tier experience compared with jets. But the ATR 72-600 tells a much more interesting story. ATR describes the 72-600 as the market-leading regional aircraft, with seating up to 78 passengers. The company lists the aircraft with a range of 740 nautical miles at maximum passenger load, a takeoff distance of 4,314 feet, and common layouts including 72 seats at 2.9-inch pitch or 78 seats at 2.8-inch pitch. ATR also emphasizes its fuel efficiency, low operating costs, and ability to access demanding airfields, including short, narrow, high altitude, and even unpaved runways. That is what makes it so impressive. Because the ATR 72-600 does not simply move regional passengers, it moves them with economics and flexibility that jets often struggle to match on shorter sectors. And in the real airline world, that matters enormously. If an aircraft can keep costs down, handle difficult airports, carry meaningful passenger volume, and still provide competitive trip times on regional missions, it becomes far more than a second-choice alternative. It becomes the smartest option for the job. ATR even states that operating costs on competing regional jets are at least 45% higher, which helps explain why the aircraft continues to hold such a strong position in regional aviation. That is why the ATR 72-600 outperforms expectations so strongly. It proves that turboprops are not only about niche access or private utility missions. They can also dominate mainstream transport economics when the mission is designed around what turboprops do best. And when an airplane can carry that many people, deliver that kind of field capability, and still keep the economics this strong, it absolutely belongs in a ranking like this. Number 6, de Havilland, Canada, Dash 8-400. At number 6, we move into an airplane that completely changes what many people think a turboprop can be. The de Havilland Canada Dash 8-400 is not just a regional workhorse. It is one of the clearest examples of a turboprop performing far beyond the stereotype. De Havilland says the Dash 8-400 seats, up to 90 passengers, has a maximum cruise speed of 360 knots, a full passenger range of 1,100 nautical miles, and a takeoff field length of 4,188 feet. The company also describes it as the highest capacity turboprop on the market today and says it offers 30% faster cruise speeds than conventional turboprops. That is what makes this airplane so impressive. 360 knots is not merely good for a prop plane, it is genuinely fast in the real world of regional transport. And when that speed is paired with up to 90 seats, serious payload capability, and a strong reputation for operations in unpaved, hot and high, and remote environments, the Dash 8-400 becomes much more than a commuter airplane. It becomes a strategic transport tool. A lot of people still assume that once you choose a turboprop, you are automatically accepting slower, less capable travel. The Dash 8-400 crushes that assumption. It gives operators jet-like urgency on many short-haul routes, while preserving the economic and field performance advantages that turboprops do best. That is why it lands so high in this ranking. It is not just outperforming expectations, it is redefining them. Number 5, Beechcraft King Air 360ER. At number 5, we come to a turboprop that feels almost unfair once you read the range number. The Beechcraft King Air 360ER is one of those aircraft that quietly does things many people do not expect from a twin turboprop executive platform. Textron lists the 360ER with a maximum range of 2,690 nautical miles, a maximum cruise speed of 303 knots, true airspeed, a useful load of 7,145 pounds, a takeoff field length of 4,057 feet, and room for up to 15 occupants. That range is what immediately changes the conversation. 2,690 nautical miles is not a modest turboprop number. It is the kind of reach that forces people to stop thinking of the airplane as merely a step below a jet and start seeing it for what it really is. A highly capable long-leg machine with the runway flexibility and mission versatility that help turboprops win in the real world. And then there is the payload story. A useful load over 7,000 pounds means this airplane is not just long-range in theory, it is useful, adaptable, and operationally serious. That is why the 360ER continues to matter so much in special missions, commercial work, government use, and demanding executive travel. It does not merely move people, it moves people, cargo, equipment, and options. What makes the King Air 360ER outperform expectations is the scale of its flexibility. It is not trying to dominate with one shocking number. It wins by combining multiple strong numbers in one proven platform. For many operators, that is more valuable than raw glamour. It means the airplane can actually earn its keep in a wide variety of environments, and that is exactly the kind of overperformance that matters most. Number 4. Piper M700 Fury. At number 4, we enter the part of the list where turboprops stop merely feeling capable and start feeling seriously aggressive. The Piper M700 Fury is one of the clearest signs that the modern personal turboprop is no longer content to just be efficient. Piper lists the M700 Fury with a max range of 1,852 nautical miles, a max cruise speed of 301 knots, true airspeed, a max altitude of 30,000 feet, and a takeoff distance over a 50-foot obstacle of 1,994 feet. Piper also identifies the engine as the Pratt & Whitney PT-6A, 5.2 rated at 700 shaft horsepower, and notes the aircraft includes Garmin Autoland. Crossing the 300 knot line matters. That is the point where a turboprop stops feeling merely quick and starts feeling like a true high-performance travel machine. The M700 Fury is important because it takes the Piper M-class formula and pushes it into a more forceful territory. It is still practical. It is still owner-pilot friendly in concept. But now it also carries performance that makes people sit up. And that is only part of the story. A takeoff distance under 2,000 feet over a 50-foot obstacle gives the M700 Fury a kind of mission flexibility that keeps it from becoming a one-dimensional speed toy. It is fast, yes, but it is fast while still preserving the short runway logic that makes turboprops so compelling. That balance is exactly why it outperforms expectations. It does not ask you to choose between utility and excitement. It gives you both in one airplane. For people who still picture turboprops as charming but slow, the M700 Fury is a wake-up call. It is sharp, modern, and unapologetically quick. And in 2026, it stands as one of the most convincing arguments that the single-engine turboprop category is still getting stronger, not weaker. Number 3, Pilatus PC-12 PRO. At number 3, we arrive at one of the most respected aircraft in all of general aviation, now sharpened into its newest form, the Pilatus PC-12 PRO. Pilatus lists the PC-12 Pro with a maximum cruise speed of 290 knots true airspeed, a maximum range of 1,765 nautical miles, and a takeoff distance of 2,485 feet. The company also positions it as the newest evolution of the PC-12, centered around its new advanced cockpit environment, powered by Garmin G3000 Prime. Pilatus further notes that the aircraft can be configured for up to 9 passengers. What makes the PC-12 PRO so extraordinary is that no single number fully explains it. On paper, 290 knots is excellent, but not the very fastest on this list. The range is strong, but not the longest. The runway performance is outstanding, but still not the most extreme utility figure here. And yet when you put all those things together, the speed, the range, the cabin, the cargo access, the single-engine economics, the avionics, and the mission flexibility, the aircraft becomes something much bigger than its individual stats. That is why the PC-12 has always had such a strong reputation. It is not merely good at one thing, it is excellent at many things at once. And the Pro version strengthens that identity even more. It feels like a platform that has grown into its own legend while still refusing to stop improving. For owner-operators, charter services, medevac crews, cargo operators, and executive flyers, that kind of multi-role excellence is incredibly rare. The PC-12 PRO outperforms expectations because it survives every attempt to define it too narrowly. It is not just a corporate turboprop. It is not just a utility aircraft. It is not just a personal transport. It is all of those things at once, and it does them with a level of polish that keeps it near the top of this category year after year. Number 2, Daher TBM 960. At number 2, we reach the airplane that many pilots and owners point to when they want to show just how serious a modern single-engine turboprop can be. The Daher TBM 960. Daher lists the TBM 960 with a max range of 1,730 nautical miles, a max cruise speed of 330 knots, seating for 6 persons, a max payload of 1,492 pounds, and a takeoff runway length of 2,535 feet. On the performance page, Daher also shows 330 kTAS at 28,000 feet, and notes that its recommended fast cruise setting lowers fuel consumption to 57 U.S. gallons per hour at 308 knots. Daher also highlights the home-safe emergency auto-land system as part of the aircraft's advanced cockpit package. 330 knots is the number that changes everything. Because at that speed, the TBM 960 does not feel like a good turboprop. It feels like a genuine high-performance travel machine, full stop. It lives in the space where a lot of light jets begin to look nervous, especially once shorter runway access and single-engine operating simplicity enter the discussion. That is what makes the TBM 960 so impressive. It is not just a fast airplane, it is a mature airplane. The speed is paired with fuel efficiency, advanced automation, digital engine and propeller control, and the kind of refinement that makes the whole aircraft feel deliberate rather than merely exciting. It is one of the clearest examples of the turboprop category reaching full adulthood, and that is why it ranks so high. The TBM 960 outperforms expectations because it does not simply prove turboprops can be quick. It proves they can be elegant, highly optimized, technologically advanced, and brutally efficient at the same time. For many owners, it is the airplane that erases the old stereotype permanently. Number 1, Epic E1000 AX. And now we arrive at number 1. The airplane that may do more than any other current turboprop to completely destroy the idea that props are inherently slow. The Epic E1000 AX. Epic lists the E1000 AX with a max cruise of 333 knots, true airspeed, a normal cruise of 317 knots, a max range of 1,560 nautical miles, a best rate of climb of 4,000 feet per minute, a max operating altitude of 34,000 feet, and a takeoff distance over a 5.0 2-foot obstacle of 2,254 feet. Epic also lists a useful load of 2,956 pounds, a max payload of 2,319 pounds, and a max payload with full fuel of 1,177 pounds. That is why it takes the crown. Not because it is merely fast, but because it is overwhelmingly fast for what it is. A 333 knot turboprop is the kind of number that changes how people talk about the category. And when you combine that with a 4,000 feet per minute climb rate, the E1000 AX starts to feel less like a polite turboprop evolution and more like an outright performance statement. It is an airplane that does not ask for respect. It takes it. But what makes it even more impressive is that the performance is still attached to useful operating numbers. The range is strong, the payload is serious, the takeoff performance remains highly practical. This is not an airplane that achieves speed by giving up everything else that matters. That is exactly why it outperforms expectations so dramatically. It does not win by cheating the mission. It wins by expanding it. The Epic E1000 AX is what happens when the turboprop category stops trying to quietly prove itself and instead decides to dominate the argument outright. If someone still believes modern turboprops are slow, limited, or automatically second best, this is the airplane most likely to change their mind in one flight. So what is the real takeaway from this list? It is simple. Modern turboprops are no longer living in the shadow of jets. They are succeeding because, for many missions, they are simply smarter aircraft. The Dash 8-400 proves that regional props can be fast and highly productive. The King Air 360ER proves that a turboprop can carry real range and payload. The M700 Fury, PC-12 PRO, TBM 960, and Epic E1000 AX prove that single-engine and owner-focused turboprops can now operate with performance levels that force people to rethink the entire category. What used to be called a compromise now looks more like a strategic choice. Speed, range, payload, runway access, utility, efficiency, the best turboprops are not just strong in one of those areas. They are often strong in several at once. And that is exactly why they keep outperforming expectations year after year. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these turboprops impressed you the most? And if you had the chance to own just one of them, which one would you choose? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to Unbox the World, give this video a like, and turn on notifications so you do not miss what is coming next. Because we have a lot more on the way, more private aviation, more incredible aircraft, more engineering, deep dives, and more of the machines that are changing the skies around us. So stay with us, and I will see you in the next video.